So welcome, Davey. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Mike. Hi, how are you?
Great to see you again.
You too. You too. Hi, everybody.
Why don't you give everybody just a little bit of background of who you are and kind of what was your biggest challenge that you wanted help with when we started working together?
Sure. My husband and I started Webster and Webster Associates about a little over 10 years ago. And we were looking for a coach for the business because we'd kind of worked as self-employed recruiters for that entire period. And we were looking to really start to grow our business. And one of the issues that we had, obviously, and I think that mindset is one of the most significant aspects of your business that you can address, not just for your business, but for your life in general. There are, and I'm sure Frances mentioned it, and she's my coach, by the way. Hi, Frances. She's awesome. She talks a lot about limiting beliefs. And that was one of the biggest aspects of mindset that we needed to shift in order for us to take our business to the next level. We'd grown consistently year over year, but the growth was incremental, it was very small. And we were comfortable with that. And we'd gotten to a point where we were ready to really take it to another level beyond what we'd kind of casually done organically along the way. But the first thing that needed to shift was, we needed to get out of our comfort zone, right? We needed to get to a point where we were not worried about the gap, not worried about the scarcity or the lack, not worried about how difficult we thought it was to get job orders or to find candidates, and to move forward with confidence in bringing on the additional resources that we need to help get us to that next level. And the first part of that was TRU.
So what were the shifts that have kind of happened since you started, because that's it, right? So by the way, were you comfortable being uncomfortable? I mean, don't you have to be uncomfortable?
I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm uncomfortable telling my story in front of everybody. So I've gotten to the point where I am comfortable being uncomfortable.
And that's just
not always fun, though.
Well, because most of us, and when first time I heard that line was from David Nagel in a one-on-one session. He goes, Mike, you're going to live a long, fulfilling, challenging life. You got to get comfortable with the concept of being uncomfortable. Because if you're comfortable, you're probably not challenged. Right. And based on what you just said, small incremental growth, you were doing well, right? You're paying your bills. You're probably taking nice vacations, but you probably got did you get like a little bored, stagnant mentally?
Well, we were raising 4 kids at the time, right? Preparing for them to go to college, to leave the nest. We had a steady book of business. But you're right. We got to a point where we're like, okay, what's next? The kids are all gone. Our youngest just graduated this year, a little late because of the pandemic. But once we had gotten to that point, we're like, okay, what's the next step? What are we doing now? And so we thought, we have the time now. We have the energy to focus on growing the business. And it wasn't in our radar for all of those years because we had other priorities, right? Now we're at the point where we could really dive in to growing our business, which gives us back the time that we felt like we would always lose if we were going to really grow the business before now, right? We came up with all the excuses in the world not to do it, right? And we, like you said, we were comfortable with where we were. Like I said, we had a solid book of business. We got plenty of referrals. Most of our customers were repeat customers. So we didn't really have to invest a significant amount of time and effort and energy and strategy even to keep the business afloat. Now we're at the point where we'd really like to see the business go to the next level. And we've been able to do that with the program here at TRU.
But let me ask you a question. And I hate answer, I'm sometimes like a lawyer. I don't want to ask a question I don't know the answer to, and I don't know the answer to. But I want you to be honest. I do want you to be honest. Because you talked about, we had these other priorities, which I totally appreciate. And then the belief was, because we want to have all this time with our kids, which is wonderful, we don't have the time to grow our business. Do you find that what you've been doing over the last 6-8 months has taken you, are you putting in more time?
Honestly, no, it's really just a shift.
Thank God you said that.
Focusing. Do I get the answer right? No. No, it's a shift from working in your business, right? Like I said, we started out as self-employed recruiters, and now we look at ourselves as business owners. We focus more on strategy and process and growth as opposed to, and you still have to obviously focus on the day-to-day, but the energy and effort that we took to get new clients, get new job orders, find candidates, take everybody through the whole process. We are now spending our resources and time investing in other resources to assist in that process, which gives us freedom to grow the business even faster.
So what are the biggest shifts you made to get there? And things you implemented?
Sure. The biggest thing, I think, aside from the mindset work that we've done with Francis, is metrics, right? So I'd mentioned to you before, Mike, that we were tracking all of our activity. The only thing we didn't track was, the calls that we made to our prospective clients. Everything else we tracked in our system. However, we weren't using that data. We weren't analyzing that data to map the next step, right? So we'd always set a goal for the following year. We never made it, unfortunately. However, we weren't using those numbers to kind of back into what our activity needed to be on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. We just knew, okay, we wanted to reach this revenue goal. We needed this many placements to do it. But that was kind of the extent of what we were doing in terms of looking at where we wanted to go and how we wanted to get there. And the thing that TRU helped us do was really utilize the information that we had over the course of years to really, buckle down and focus on the metrics that we needed to hit every day, every week, every month to get us there.
And have you found, since you've done that, the revenue is kind of consistent and predictable?
It is consistent, it's predictable, it's increased because our activity has increased. You can't measure what you don't count, right? So in counting every day, the number of calls that we're making, the level of our activity, we are more accurately able to predict what our numbers will be. But in addition to that, our revenue has grown significantly.
Without working longer?
No.
I just want everyone to hear that, because and this is the belief I had, ages ago, was 2x revenue was 2x effort, right? And it's like, and I had the same thing early on in my business. I had 3 kids, but I engineered the business using metrics so I could leave at 3 o'clock and coach Little League and do things like that and continue to grow revenue. So it becomes a question, just like Francis was talking about, what has to be true for me to grow revenue and work the same or less? And there's answers to those questions. Any specific strategies beside the metrics and the mindset you did? Because I know in one of our breakouts in our group call, you talked about really the accountability with your recruiters. How's that help?
It gives us a focus on a daily basis, right? I mean, you always, you want to say, okay, I've made this many placements, I've gotten this much revenue in for the month, but that doesn't happen every day. So it gives you something to focus on, something to measure activity by on a daily basis for your entire team, whether it's a recruiter or a sourcer, a researcher, whomever. TRU kind of gives us the tools that we need to gauge the performance for everybody in every aspect and every role in the business. And that allows us to course correct in a much shorter period of time, right? You're not looking, a quarter later going, okay, these 3 deals didn't close, what happened? Based on your numbers, where you should expect to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. And again, that's not something that we were using that data, we weren't analyzing that data to predict. So that gives you a focus on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis and allows you to make those incremental adjustments as needed with your team.
Perfect. Anything you want to add that I didn't ask you that was important to help you shift?
The most difficult thing for me, I think, was planning, just because I'd gotten accustomed to kind of, responding to my emails. I knew over the course of a day or two what I needed to get done in a period of time. But mapping out a plan, not just for myself, but for the business that we use now as that overarching guide to staff up, to utilize additional resources, to track our marketing, to plan our marketing. I mean, all of those things were thoughts that were kind of floating around in my head. Some things were executed and some weren't. But having that written out and having a resource to go to get scripts and forms and all of the tools that we need to help map through that has really allowed me to kind of organize much better and really, again, focus on growing my business as opposed to focused on, recruiting the next candidate for the next job.
And because it was one of the questions I think you were on at the end, where kind of that paranoia of taking yourself off a desk. I know you're not necessarily taking yourself off your desk, but you're leveraging yourself much more through that's where the growth is coming, probably from leveraging.
Absolutely. 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 And not just leveraging other people. I mean, we had other team members in the past that didn't work out. And so we were of the mindset that, I don't want to go through the hassle of hiring folks and having it not work out. What we didn't have in place, though, was a training program, a structured way to measure their performance and their success. And I found that the failures that we experienced were our own, right? It wasn't the candidates. It wasn't the people that we brought on board. It wasn't the resources that we were using. It was our failure to follow a process that allowed them to get the information that they needed and set expectations with them in terms of what their level of activity and performance needed to be. We weren't doing any of that on a consistent enough basis to be able to predict any success. And so with this program, we've been able to do that, and we feel much more confident moving forward to hire people and look at it as an investment. I mean, that scarcity issue is a huge issue for, I know, a lot of people, and we were in that boat, right? We didn't want the expense of bringing on full-time staff. And so we are now looking at that, as an investment, something that will bring a return. And if it doesn't, we know when to cut bait.
And you can do it quickly. You don't wait 6 months.
Like
the other one's like, well, I'm waiting for them to make a placement. No, you're going to know in the first few days if they're going to make it or not.
Absolutely.
Francis, any question you want to ask since you've worked with Daivia?
I just want to say thank you. Daivia, you are such a joy to coach. And to wrap that up, I think everything that you've said resonates with so many probably on this call. If you wrap it up, it's the difference in time management versus activity management. You've shifted how you activity manage. And I guess the one question I want to ask is, for you in a more holistic way, how you're feeling about the journey that you guys are on. Because even something as simple as resistance to planning, I remember that call. I remember focused daily planning, written plan. It's something that so many of us struggle with, where we can have an idea of where we want to be in a year, but we struggle with our day. So if we can't stack one day next to another day, next to another day of hitting our goals, we don't move over here to the year. And you've done such a tremendous job with that. I'd love for you to just share how you feel about all of these changes in your day-to-day routine and all of that.
We talked a little about this in our last session. I've gone from a level of moderate anxiety to excitement, right? I'm looking forward to getting to that next step. And I can, I think Mike had mentioned at one point, you when you work through a process, you may not necessarily know all of the steps. You just need to know the next one, right? And so a huge level of anxiety has decreased significantly, because I don't worry about the 15th step. I worry about the first 2 steps, right? I need to plan for those. I need to prepare for those. I need to take those. But, the next 2 steps, I'll get to that when I get to it. And knowing that there are resources available to guide you down that path makes the sense of anxiety or worry a lot less. And I mentioned this to you, Francis, in our last call. I'm looking forward to next year. I really am. I'm looking forward to growing the business, and I'm looking forward to setting goals that we would not have set at this point in our business had we not come across the program.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. And let me ask you again. I'm going to ask another question I don't know the answer to from you.
You're going to get in trouble doing this.
Yeah, right. I'm playing with the house's money right now. But because you said something that's brilliant, in that I don't worry about the 15th step. And I think a lot of people, if they go, well, if I hire, I need to know all 15 steps. Well, one, know the 15 steps are available. And I notice, as long as I know what the first 2 are. Let me ask you this. Once you do the first 2 or first 3 or what, doesn't a different perspective on step 3 and 4 show up anyway, that if you knew it, it would have been a waste of time to spend all the time learning it?
It does, because once you make those first couple of steps, you realize, number one, it's not as scary or anxiety ridden as you thought it was. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, to regroup and kind of, take a different approach perhaps, or work through some mindset issues that you may have involving that. But there are resources that will help you through it. And I think you said in one of the previous coaching calls, what's the worst that could happen, right? I mean, take a couple steps. It's not going to be the end of your existence, right? You want to put in enough effort to kind of get to the next step and figure out what you have to do from there. And there are resources to help you do that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you investing your time with the group today. And congratulations on all your success. We're so proud of you.